All right, well, this is a really good football team, coming in the Valley this week. Super excited about, being back at home and another opportunity. Hard to believe this is our third home game already. But our crowd was awesome last week, and really, we're going to need them this week, to be that 12th person for us. Definitely know it'll be an awesome environment for a great college football matchup, and that's what you got. You got two good teams, two great programs, in a rivalry game early in the season. So this is Clemson, Florida State at its best right here for sure. This is a great football team we're getting ready to play, every sense of the word. Mike's done a great job in really building their program and putting it back together. And not only that, it's one thing to have good players. It's another thing to get them to play hard, to play together, and to play with the right character and attitude and all those type of things. And all those things jump out when you watch Florida State play. These guys really, and it starts with their quarterback. I mean, he's a guy I've been around a little bit and I've had a chance to watch. And I mean, he's a great football player, but he's a great kid. And he's a winner. He's a guy that makes everybody around him better. He's got a ton of football character and a ton of just character in general, and that kind of shines through him in every aspect of his life. So got a lot of respect for this team. Very, very experienced football team that we're getting ready to play on offense and defense. Got a lot of guys that have played a lot of football. Again, starting with their quarterback. A bunch of guys up front that have played a lot of ball. Great backfield. This is a really, really dynamic group of backs. 3 is he's a load. They do a lot of things to get him the ball in the screen game, and they're a very physical group up front by nature of their scheme, with all the guard tackle pull stuff that they have, and misdirection. A lot of play action, move the pocket a ton with the quarterback, get him out of the pocket. He's a great creator, huge explosive plays that have come from both his arm and his legs, and a lot of big plays come when he just creates, and so that's what makes him really, really dangerous. He can beat you in a lot of ways, a million screens. And then they've got some dynamic playmakers. I mean, obviously with Bell coming in, we've seen him up close. He's a great football player. 14, 4 is a really special talent as well. So they've got a very dynamic group with their backfield, tight end, receivers, and then the quarterback. So create a lot of challenges for sure. Huge battle and match up there. And then flip side, defensively, they look like the Florida State teams on defense that I kind of grew up here at Clemson watching, if you will. Deep up front, bunch of big bodies, a bunch of guys that can run, sub guys in and out, physical downhill linebackers, and guys in the secondary that play with confidence and try to force the issue. So it's a physical matchup on both sides. There are going to be a lot of competitive plays on both sides. So good football team, every sense of the word, and man, we're excited about the opportunity and the challenge, and look forward to being a part of it. We'll have to play well for sure.
Any questions for Coach? Just reflected on the Clemson-Florida State rivalry. What makes it so special?
Well, I mean, obviously, I didn't know much about it prior to coming here, other than just the Punt Ruski and Deion Sanders, the big return that he had that one year, and so but being a part of it, my first year was 2003, and we were coming off we were 5-4. That was a miserable time in my coaching life right there, being 5-4, and things were not really good here, and we're not in a good spot. And now we look up and we got to play the Seminoles And I remember watching the tape going, holy moly, they were loaded. They were really, really good. And yeah, I think they were number 3 in the country. And we're 5-4. But man, we made a bunch of plays. Charlie Whitehurst played out of his mind. Our receivers made some huge plays. I remember, D. Ham and Youngblood and Aries and Tony and Dwayne Coleman and our guys that we had there. Big Louisiana back there. I mean, we had a scrappy bunch, and somehow, some way, we found a way to make enough plays and won the ball game. And honestly, if not, I'm probably not sitting here if it wasn't for that game. So that's kind of how my time started with them in a good way. And then not a lot of success, on the road, that's for sure. I think we won for the first time down there in '06. Chancey Stuckey had some big plays in that game, but I think it was Will Proctor. Is that right? Will Proctor was the first quarterback to win down there in a while. But we went I don't know how long. It was a long time before we won down there, and so that was a big win. And we didn't win again down there for a while. Maybe was it 16? Yeah, so I mean, it was a long time. We had some almost, when we had them. The one game down there, we led the whole game. Was that 10? And kicked like an 85 yarder to win it with 2 seconds. Never forget that. And then we had the game in 14 where had first and goal from that far, and we ended up punting. You remember that? Remember that one. And then we fumbled the ball late and then gave up the long pass on like 2nd and 23. They threw like an 80-something yard touchdown. It was a crazy game. But so we've had a lot of battles. I mean, so I think to answer your question, you've had games like that, crazy plays, huge moments. And then flip side, we've had some big ones here. And, we won here. Obviously 3 was a huge win, and we had a couple others. But in 9, my first year, we started out 2-3 that year, and went down there to Miami and beat Miami top 10, and we had to play Florida State. That was a crazy game. That was ironically DeAndre McDaniel going in the Hall of Fame this weekend. That was the DMAC game that'll forever. So there's just these huge plays on both sides that I think have made this a great rivalry. Obviously, them joining the ACC when they did, and Bobby Bowden, and then Tommy Bowden being here, that created, the Bowden Bowl, and created even more, just, I guess, intensity or scrutiny to this game from across the country and so forth. And then obviously the players on the field created a lot of great moments over the years. And then in 11, that was a huge, huge win for us. That was the year that, we had to play the 3 ranked teams in a row. We played Auburn, played Florida State, Virginia Tech, and at that time, nobody had ever won 3 ranked games in a row in the ACC. And not sure we had much chance going into it, especially coming off a 6-win season. But we won all 3, and that was a huge game. So just a lot of big games over the years. 13, they smashed us right here in the Valley. I mean, that was one of the worst football nights of my life. I mean, we just could not get out of our own way. I mean, they were really, really good, and went on and won the national championship, that year. So a lot of great moments, a lot of great battles, and then I think as we had divisions in the league for, I don't know, since 05, I mean, outside of, I know Wake went one year, and maybe BC went early in a year, but it was pretty much Clemson, Florida State. And so that game for so long came down to, if you won that game, unless you screwed it up somehow, you were probably, because now you got to lose 2, right? So I think that's what has driven a lot of it, just in my 20 years here. So, this is one of those on paper that is a really good matchup.
When they're top 5, it's obviously it makes life harder on you. When they they were in the ditch a few years ago? Or are you like, this is great?
No, man. Listen, hey, this is Clemson, Florida State. None of that matters. It doesn't matter. I mean, what the record is. It doesn't matter who won last year. It doesn't matter what you ranked. This is a game that you better show up. You better show up and be ready. And you know, it's certainly great for the ACC when you have, you know, a lot of competitive balance like we have. I think our league is really good. We got a lot of good players and a bunch of great quarterbacks, and we play about every one of them. So this is just another battle along the way. It's going to be a bunch of battles ahead. But Clemson, Florida State, you can throw all that stuff out the records. I mean, just like, you know, we were 5-4 and upset the number 3 team in the country. It doesn't matter. You know, this is a game of passion. This is a game of a few plays typically every year. Yeah, there's some anomalies. There's been some on both sides where you know, Clemson's given up 1 million points and could barely move the ball. So been on both sides of it. And it really doesn't matter what you did last week or last year or whatever. This is just one of those games. They're all big. They're all the biggest game. This is the biggest game of the year because it's the one we're playing. And I know nobody wants to hear that, but that's the fact. And if you don't have that mindset, and when you're on this side of this microphone, you're not going to be very consistent or very good. You know, you win this game, well, guess what? You go to Syracuse next week and lay an egg. Well, nobody cares, right? So every game is the biggest game of the year. But there are those games along the way that you have along your path that just, you know, got a little more juice to them. And there, you know, you get these rivalry matchups where there's a lot of familiarity and intensity with your fan bases and things like that. And this is just one of those games.
To his point, though, the fact that they're the top 5 team now and you guys aren't ranked, which is kind of weird.
Well, I mean, they've earned that.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
But is there a chip on the shoulder factor from your standpoint for the first time in a while, just because they're the one that's ranked and you guys aren't?
No, I mean, we ain't worried about none of the ranking stuff. I mean, it really, I mean, again, we've played 3 ball games. You know, we lost our opener on the road, and they're undefeated. And so, you know, that's just where we are. Again, you can. They don't give trophies out after 3 games. I mean, you got to play the season out. There's a lot of teams right now that are ranked that will not be ranked when the season's over. I'm pretty sure that's an accurate statement. And there's several teams, probably not a lot, but there's several teams that aren't ranked right now that they're going to finish ranked when the season's over. It's a long season. So, you know, none of that stuff matters. I mean, this is 2 good football teams that are going to battle out, and who knows what anybody is right now.
Well, you face a wide receiver group that looks like they could post up for Leonard Hamilton. I mean, what concerns? I mean, they got some big guys.
Yeah.
I think that are all just now there, you know, this year. But I mean, what are concerns when you face big wide receivers?
Well, I mean, it's not just having big wide receivers. It's the totality of their package of what they do. You know, I mean, they're physical up front. It's all built through trying to stay on schedule on first down through the run game, the misdirection, the boots, the nakeds, a lot of RPOs, off the counter scheme. That's what creates problems because that, you know, you can't just say, all right, we're going to stop this great receiver over here. You know, they got a great running back. They got a great dynamic quarterback who they're going to get on the edge. And so there's a lot of problems. I mean, this is just a really complete offense. They're explosive in the run and the pass. So schematically, they create some problems because they create, you know, one-on-one matchups. And so, you know, it's going to be a lot of, just by net, it's going to be competitive plays. 14 is a giant. He's got a humongous catch radius. He's a very experienced guy. And then 4 he's a big, strong, dynamic player. You know, strong hands, strong runner, fast. He's a returner as well. So, you know, just elite football players create problems. But it's more than just being elite and talented players at that position. It's the package of how they put it all together, because it really challenges you from a discipline standpoint, eyes, because you got a quarterback back there that really understands what he's doing, and you know they're gonna use him through the run game and through the play action, which creates space. And again, it comes down to just some matchups where there's going to be some competitive plays. You can't just line up and play zone against these guys, as you're going to be short and they're going to run the ball down your throat. They create advantages with the quarterback, so it's like playing with 13 on 11. So you have to win your matchup. But hey, we like our guys, and it's a very similar matchup to last year, and we did not play well defensively against these guys in the first and fourth quarter. We played pretty good in the second and third quarter, but we stunk in the first and fourth quarter. We missed some tackles. If you look at their two huge plays early on, their guy was better than our guy. Number 13 and Barrett Carter. There you go. That's two great football players right there, one-on-one, and he just ran right by us, and we don't make the play. So that's football. It comes down to matchups, and they create matchups like that, and you got to win more battles than you lose.
Dabo, health-wise, do you anticipate Andrew and Walker being able to go this week?
We're hopeful. We're hopeful. They're with us and working, and still say day to day, but we'll see.
So you added a new kicker?
Yeah. How about that? Y'all get more intel than I get. Y'all usually know before I know. Y'all ask me all these questions, and y'all already know the answers to the questions before y'all ask them. So y'all get all the answers. Y'all probably already know who's playing, who's not playing, but it's fun to come in here and go through the process anyway. I would miss y'all if we didn't get to do this, Qualt. Yeah, we got my man Weitzy coming back. We called him off went to the bullpen, called him off the beach. He's down in Charleston, and he's honestly we just need a little bit of maturity there, I guess would be the right word. Haven't lost any confidence in Robert Gunn at all. This kid is, man, when you say this kid is talented, you're really not doing it justice. This guy is freaky. He really is. He is a freaky talent when it comes to his ability to kick a football. And he's just a young player, a freshman that's just got to kind of work himself through the funk. And his kickoffs are amazing. He's been unbelievable there, but he's just been in a little bit of a funk, and it really started kind of the week of the Duke game. He was amazing all camp. Just in every situation, but it's everybody thinks they can do it, and it's easy. And but this is a great kid who really cares a lot. But he just sometimes you just need to catch your breath. And we've got two other guys on the roster who just haven't stepped up. They've had opportunity the past 2 weeks. They ain't got it done. They've not taken advantage of the opportunity. So the only reason Weitz is here is because I found out he was in school. I didn't even know he was in school. And so, yeah, he was pretty shocked to get a call from me on Sunday. I'd heard he was in school, and I was like, "Are you really in school?" And yeah, so he said, it's either going to be a great story or it's going to be terrible. It's not going to be anything in between. So, this is a guy. He's got a boss up in New York, probably pissed off at me because he's in school, but he's been online, living in Charleston. And the only reason he didn't come back is, for people who don't know who he is, he's not just a guy off the street. He is right now, but he was in our program for 4 years and was our backup the last 2 years, and a good backup. But we just had B.T. Potter. He just happened to be here at a time when we had B.T. Potter, and he had more eligibility, but we had this guy named Robert Gunn that he sees in practice every day too, and so it's like, well, and so he had a chance. He wanted to go, and he spent the whole spring in France, studying abroad and, hanging out at the Eiffel Tower. And, he's just, had a great summer and has his life planned out. He just rented an apartment in New York. He starts his job in 2 weeks, and he's graduating with his master's in December. And he gets a call from Coach Swinney on Sunday. Hey, you want to come kick against the Noles this weekend? He's just crazy enough to want to do it, and might be what we need right now. So, I mean, he was 7 for 8 yesterday, so he hadn't kicked the ball since April. So hopefully he'll be ready. But we got to have a change there. I mean, it's just where we are, and we'll see what happens.
So what was the distance?
Will he start against Florida State?
Yeah, he'll start.
What was the distance on the 7?
I don't know. Hang on. Let's see warm-ups, okay? Let's hold that thought. He's starting today, but we got a long week of practice, and we got warm-ups. So we'll see how that goes.
Does Gunn still do kickoffs?
Oh yeah. He's got no issues there. He's just got to settle down. You know, that's kind of he's gotten to a point where and I think it's more he's just mad and he's trying so hard, you know, and he's kicking his field goals like a kickoff, and we just got to he'll work his way out of it.
What was the distance, the furthest, or did you do a range on the 7 for 8?
Did I arrange it?
Yeah. What was the furthest he hit a field goal from?
He's pretty solid from about 45 in. You know, again, he hadn't kicked since April, so, he didn't even have any balls. I just asked him if he kicked, and he said no. And he said, let me go kick a few. I'll call you and let you know if I can do it. And so he called and said, I think I can do it. And I said, all right, what are you going to tell your boss? He said, I don't know. I'm going to have to call the boss. And so I have no idea who. Appreciate the boss up in New York. Hopefully they still got a job for him in January. But I guess he's going to be paying rent for an apartment in New York for a few months. But we'll see. We're going to Syracuse next week, so maybe he can moonlight while we're up there. I don't know.
Well, like a red zone option, like closer in, and you still have Gunn.
Yeah, if we had to kick a long one, Robert. I mean, he's definitely your best option there. But we just need somebody to make some layups right now.
With Gunn, it looked to me, and I'm not a kicking coach, I'm say that. The first one that he missed maybe got a little too deep, and I don't know if that's the right term, but maybe a little too far forward. On another one, fixable stuff.
Oh yeah. Guys, this is just mental and technical. That's all it is. I mean, it's he'll work through it, and he'll look back on this eventually and go, man, that was a crazy year, and it's going to make him better. There's no doubt about it. But again, we got to give our guys a little something different. And again, sometimes you just need to have a catch your breath or have a different challenge. I mean, y'all, those of you who've been around here, y'all remember Catanzaro, his freshman year. I mean, that was one of the most miserable years ever. I mean, we had 5 games that came down. We lost 6 points or less. And Murphy's Law, every game, because the way we were built that year offensively and just who we were, we knew we were going to have to make some kicks, and we weren't going to be a overly explosive team, but it felt like we could move the ball, and it just seemed like every game came down to a kick, and we just couldn't make a kick for save our life. And I mean, and that guy left here as the leading scorer in the history of the school and made some of the biggest kicks in our program's history, right? So, and this kid is more talented than Catanzaro, without question. And but Cat kind of worked his way through that. And I mean, again, everybody thinks they can do it. But when you go out there in front of 80-something thousand people, millions of people watching, these are young people. These aren't robots. They're sitting the swing thing that hits the perfect golf ball every single time. These are real people, and so he'll work through it.
Third floor, I think. No, third floor.
Got another conversation going on here.
Clifton, if you could please keep your mic muted on Zoom.
Clifton, we're having a press conference. We're trying to have a press conference. Don't interrupt.
With Weitz compliance and stuff like that, just since he had the extra year, was it as simple as calling him, adding him back to the roster?
He'd been in school, so the biggest thing was eligibility. And so he was in school all spring, and he's a full-time grad student now. He just living on the beach in Charleston doing it, 2023. So and getting ready to start his career in 2 weeks. So just kind of, we're just kind of fortunate that way that we had another guy available, and we'll see how it goes. Again, it's probably going to be great or terrible. I don't know that it'll be much in between, and I'm pulling for great.
How many people do you call? And that, like, you get this idea, and then obviously there's like academic side of it that like has to get back in. Like, what was your Sunday?
I just found out that, he was in school. The comment was, hey, Jonathan Weitz is still in school. And I'm like, huh? What? And so I called him. That was it. Talked to one person, because I didn't need to talk to anybody else unless I needed to confirm that he was in school. And then would he even be interested in doing it? And just kind of what all was there. And then once we kind of got to that point, and he decided, yeah, I think I want to do it. Heck, he jumped in the car and drove up here. And I think he called his parents on the way, and they're like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm going to Clemson. And so, that's really it. And then once he said he wanted to do it, then it's compliance, it's AD, it's it's all the academics. I mean, there's roster stuff as far as that you have to go through to certify a guy, and then we got the acclimatization. We needed to. Now it's like, okay, I got to get the clock going. Okay, we got to have 3 days in shorts or whatever, and to make sure we meet that timeline. So. All part of it.
In Clemson, remote.
He was a full-time grad student, but living in Charleston, and he had, like I said, spent all spring in France, and got back I guess this summer, and I think he's just been living his best life, golfing, having fun, getting ready to start his career. And again, I think he's in like the financial world, and he's got a great job up in New York City. And literally rented an apartment. He's moving in 2 weeks. So this is kind of a crazy situation. So once he kind of decided that, hey, he wanted to do it, got confirmation that we could do it, then it's, he had to call his boss. He said his boss was understanding and excited for him, so I appreciate that.
What was your conversation with Robert about this?
Just told him, hey, man, I haven't lost any confidence in you, but, again, just need to kind of catch our breath a little bit. Let's just focus on kicking off right now, and let's got to give somebody else an opportunity, and we'll see what happens. So just keep going, keep working.
We hear it time and time again how much your players buy in and love you and what you've built here, but what's it mean you said it, he's living his best life. What's it mean to have somebody willing to come back, to buy in, to show up still for this team like that?
Well, I think, again, he was a part of the program for 4 years, and he understands who we are. He's a great kid, and we actually have the same birthday. I always text him happy birthday. But great family, Portugal kid down there, and came in here as a really highly preferred walk-on guy, and again, just got better and better. And the last couple of years, he's our backup and a ready guy. But again, we had B.T. Potter, and he just was the number 2 guy. And he had he just wanted to go. He was graduating in grad school and just wanted to go and kind of get on with his life. And I think was at total peace with that. And I think part of it was he knew Robert was here, and so it's crazy how things work out. And he's excited because he understands the opportunity, and this is something he worked for a long time that it never really happened. But you know what? Hey, things happen on God's timing. It's not always, life is not a perfect path. It rarely ever in life or in football goes exactly the way we want it, right? And but you just keep moving forward and do things right, and opportunities come in different forms and fashion. So. Again, we'll see what happens. I hope it doesn't come down to a kick. I don't know if my heart can take that, but we'll see.
He's living on the beach and living his best life. Do you think that sort of unburdened mentality could help when he's?
I hope
performing?
so. You know, he's just a mature guy. He's a grown man. You know, he's not a young player. He's been out there. He's made kicks for Clemson before. He's played. He's kicked off. He's kicked some. So it's not like he's never done it. But I think just the where he is in life, you know, maturity-wise, experience-wise, definitely serves him well. You know, as you get older and you experience things, your perspective changes. And you know, what was the biggest thing in the world? Oftentimes we look back and we go, that was kind of silly. You know, you can kind of see your maturation process. And I just think he's in a good place like that. Like look, man, I just make a great effort. You know what? I mean, if it doesn't go in, I'm still going to love him. You know, I mean, I'm not one of these people that, there's a lot of people out there, they love me when I win, right? That just comes with the job and the territory, right? And then there's a lot of people that really like you, but you lose, well, they hate you. You know, but at the end of the day, I'm not a different person based on what happens with the scoreboard, and I know that. You know, I'm not defined by that. I'm defined by who God says I am. That's how I'm defined. So I don't get caught up in those things. And you know, we work extremely hard, and we do our best in everything that we do, and make a lot of decisions. And some people like those decisions, some people don't. You're never going to please everybody, but at the end of the day, you've got to have some substance of who you are and what grounds you in this crazy world we live in. Otherwise, you just get swept out to sea. But I'm anchored, and I think you know, he's a guy that I think is at peace with himself and where he is in life, and he's worked really hard. I mean, he's a very, very smart kid. He's highly accomplished as a young person in this world. You know, I mean, what he's done as an athlete, he's been a part of a national championship team. He's done some great things, had some great experiences. He's getting a master's degree. He's got opportunities in the world, and you know, so I just think he's got good perspective, and you know, he's going to give it all he's got. And at the end of the day, that's all you can ask. And Robert has given it all he has. Robert's, I think he's just at that point where he thinks trying harder is better, and it's really not. You know, he's just got to kind of work through this phase that he's in, and he'll get there. He'll get there.
You had actually mentioned earlier this year, B.T. Potter. I'll take it back a couple of years ago. You were going to sit him down going into a Louisville game. Then 51-yard field goal is staring you in the face, and you trotted him out there, and he splits the pipes, and that was that.
Yeah,
was Weitz the guy?
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize this, but you know, Potter, what did he do? He just kicked off his first couple years around here, right? His first year, he couldn't make a kick. You know, same thing, highly acclaimed guy coming in here, and was it Hugel? He couldn't beat Hugel out. He couldn't beat him out. You know, Hugel was money. I mean, and Hugel we got out of a tryout, right? And you know, but a lot of expectations on BT. A lot of expectations, and this is a great kicker. I mean, again, one of the best in the history, and but his first couple of years he was kickoff guy, you know, but he eventually became, you know, the guy, and he just kind of, and again, just a maturation process that you have to go through. It's a hard position. You know, there's a lot of people that make a lot of mistakes, but not everybody sees them. You know, left guard will miss a block every now and then, but, you know, nobody sees it. Guy busts a coverage backside, but they didn't throw the ball that way. Nobody even knows. Quarterback missed his read, but he threw a nice completion over here. Everybody's cheering him. Freaking kicker doesn't put it through the pipes. Everybody knows, right? And so it's it's not much subjectivity to the kicker position, and it's a hard job. It's a very underappreciated job, as is the snap, as is the hold. These are not easy jobs. These are very, very difficult jobs to do.
One other what if. So you have a 52-yarder.
It's the most kicking questions in the history. Clifton, you taking notes? This is a great kicking press conference here.
I'll ask mine later. How's that?
52-yarder?
Yeah, and Robert trots out there and he splits the pipes. Now you got a 38-yarder. Now this, you know, it's got to make you second guess, doesn't it?
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah. See what happens.
You don't want me kicking.
Yeah, man, me neither.
One more kicking question.
Yeah.
Snapping and the holding, that operation been?
It's been great. It's been great. It's been really good.
Dabo, what do you think of how have you?
We actually made a change there with Casperson. I don't know if anybody's even noticed that. Flo was the snapper last year, but for whatever reason, Flo's balls, we're having to turn it, about 90% of the time. Flo's now the punt. And Casperson, we flipped him. Casperson, he's money. He was almost 100% in camp of catching plays. That's something you don't think about, whereas last year, and not as bad, but all camp, it's having to turn, getting the laces out of the way. Like almost 90% of the time. And it's just, Flo, for whatever reason, kind of got himself in a funky groove, because if you really watch great snappers, when they catch it, the ball goes down, there's no laces. And so that's a technique. And so that's why we had to make a change there, because Casperson he's money. It's catching place 90+% of the time. And that makes a difference when you're not having to spin the ball. And then Flo has been, and Casperson's great on both of them, but Flo has been kind of equally as good, but he gives us a little bit more in coverage. In fact, I guess he made a tackle last week from a punt standpoint. So we've got two good snappers, but there's a lot to it.
Dabo, I was going to ask about you guys' mindset in practice this week. Has it been what you like? Do they understand that, hey, this is a big moment, but it's just the moment this week that we've got to take care of?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, we've got a veteran team. We've got a lot of maturity on this team, a lot of experience, guys that have played in a bunch of games. But, again, they're all huge. There's always a little more juice for some games and rivalries and things like that. That's just natural. But, you have to prepare every week. Otherwise you create inconsistency. It takes a certain mindset every single week. And so, they were great last night. They're excited. They're coming off a win and fully understand they've got another big battle this week. We got, Lord willing, we got 9 more battles, and every single one of them are going to be huge battles. And you have to be in the moment, right? Of where you are. I read a quote yesterday that said something like, in order to seize the lifetime of an opportunity, you have to seize the lifetime of the opportunity. And so, what does that mean? That means you got to have a good Monday practice. The lifetime of this opportunity will be over Saturday night, and then there's going to be another opportunity. Win or lose, that's just the way it is. And then you count them all up at the end of the year, and you see how you did and what you got to do to get better. But you have to, regardless of who you're playing, you have to have the right mindset when it comes to preparation and how you attack that. So that creates the consistency that you need and the mindset that it takes.
Misun Kelley, actually on your radio show yesterday that he's dealing with a lingering injury.
Yep.
Part of what's holding him back. Would he be available this week if you needed
We're going to see. We're going to see how he is. He did practice last night. We'll see how he is today and tomorrow, and kind of go from there. He's a super talented kid, dynamic, very similar to Tyler in a lot of ways, and super excited about him and what he brings. But he is battling a little bit of an injury that he's trying to work through. So we'll see how it goes with him.
Any questions for Coach from Zoom?
Come on, Clifton. I know you got one.
Anybody else in the room?
I was just going to ask, the Hall of Fame weekend coming up, you
Yep.
mentioned McDaniel, but 3 Clemson football players will be inducted this weekend. You were able to coach a couple of them. What does it take to be in the Clemson Football or Athletic Hall of Fame compared to maybe other Hall of Fames? And what did they have that got them there?
Well, was Priester was the other one, right? I obviously didn't get to coach him, but man, what a great. You don't just get lucky and get in the Hall of Fame. Man, what a great player and great career. I've had a chance to meet him a few times, and so really excited for him and all that he represents, and just the recognition for his career here. But obviously being able to coach KP and D-Mac, it's really cool. But you're at a place. I mean, any Hall of Fame is an amazing honor of any sort, because you're being recognized as the best of the best of what you did when you were a part of whatever that organization was. It's just you just can't take that lightly. I think that's a big deal. But certainly at a place like Clemson, that's been going since the 1890s. That's a long time, and there's thousands of football players that have come through here, and to be recognized as a Hall of Famer and one of the best, based on your contributions on the field, that's a huge honor. It really is. And man, they got two great ones this weekend that I had the opportunity to coach. Recruited both of them personally. In fact, I think they both showed up here maybe the same year. And KP was my first ever mid-year recruit. I'd never experienced that before, because he decided he didn't want to play baseball in high school. He wanted to try to come in, and that'll be in a book one day. I'll write about that story on how all that transpired, and he ends up coming in. I think led the team in home runs that year as a high school senior, and then just what he did for us football-wise and leading us to our first division championship that in 2009, 2 and 3 to the championship game, and in a game where neither team punted against Georgia Tech there that year in Tampa, and that was amazing. That was an amazing thing to get our team there. It was disappointing, because we wanted to go to the Orange Bowl, and ironically that game was in Tampa. It's the only time it was ever in Tampa. And from my perspective, that was a good lesson for me, because I was so disappointed in that moment. And they sent us to the Music City Bowl, and we go from the Orange Bowl to the daggum frozen tundra, coldest game in Clemson history. But you know what? 7 years later, we were at that same stadium winning a national championship, and I think was part of God's plan for us. And as we built this program, and kind of built our way to the top of the mountain. And so KP was a huge part of that, a multi-sport. How hard it is to play two sports in college, and not just play two sports, but to be really good. And I still think, KP obviously went baseball and went to the major leagues and had a good career and all that stuff. And he got time in the bigs, and you get time in the bigs, whether it's one bat, 1 year, 20 years. That's just unbelievable to be able to do that. But I really think this guy could have played in the NFL. He had a beautiful mind for the game. He had as good an arm as anybody we've had come through here. He could absolutely rip it, and great anticipation. Again, great understanding. Was just athletic enough to move around a little bit, but really only had him for 2 seasons. But he was a very talented player, great competitor. So happy for him. And then D-Mac. This guy, from when I first met this kid at Godby High School, and where he was in life, and what he had been, what he had to overcome in life, it's amazing to watch him now. It's just what it's all about, and to see him being honored this way. This guy loves Clemson. He's a really good coach too. He's a very, very smart guy. He really understands the game. He's very respected. He's our senior defensive assistant now. He brings a lot to the room that people don't even know, and he's got a great future in this profession. But it's just been awesome to see him grow and mature. He's got his master's degree. He's a great father. He's a great husband, and he's just an amazing story, from where he was to having to go to prep school. To trying to leave the prep school. I remember calling his grandmother, Miss Dot, and his godmom, Miss Kim, and I said, hang up on him. If y'all go pick him up, I'm never talking to you again, and this kid's he ain't gonna make it. And, they left him. They left him. They wouldn't go get him. And, he hung in there, and it was the best. It's exactly what he needed. And to see him now the maturation process of where he is, he just got a great story, and he's got an unbelievable perspective because of the journey in life that he's been on, and that's a big deal. It's a big deal for him to be recognized as a Hall of Famer. So really happy for him, and again, it's means a lot. There's been a lot of great players come through here, for sure. And he's another one of those guys that's just always been. He's a Clemson guy, man. I mean, he's unbelievably committed. I'll never ever forget. And Tim Beret can back me up on this. 2010, we lose that miserable game up there in Charlotte in the bowl game. We got 6 wins, and D-Mac's a senior. He's got a broken wrist. He don't have a dog in the fight no more. And man, he called that whole team up in the locker room, and I mean, got after them and challenged them. It's my second year, and he basically, paraphrasing here, and Tim, you can basically said, hey, look, we're building something special here, and you guys need to stay the course. You need to listen to Coach Swinney. You guys are gonna do this, and this, and that was a huge thing in that moment, from a culture standpoint. And then the next year we won the league, right? And just built our program to the top of the mountain, and we'll build it back to the top again. But it takes leadership like that. It takes great moments along the way like that as well. And so I'm very thankful for those guys, and happy for Priester as well.
Looks like David was trying to get in virtually. David, go ahead.
Thanks, Ross. Dabo, you talked a little bit about Jordan Travis at the top of this, and how much he makes the guys around him better and sort of makes that offense run. I'm curious where you see Cade and his development of kind of getting to that point at Clemson, and particularly over the last 6 quarters, have you been pleased by the improvements that he's made since the start of the season?
Yeah, I think similar. If you go back and look at Travis, a couple years ago to where he is now, I mean, he's just gotten better and better and better. I think that just comes with experience and going through the battles. He's incredibly confident. He's got a great understanding, and he knows where to go with the ball. And then again, he can really create. And there's a lot of similarities with Cade. Cade can really run, and I think he's growing into that. He's started a few games, and every time he has an outing, he grows. So he's a young player. This is obviously another great opportunity for him to continue to develop. He's got beautiful arm talent, but he's gotten better every week, and that's what you want. I mean, he's improved every single week, and again, he's one of those guys that learns as he goes, and I think you'll continue to see that. I think he's got a great future ahead of him, a great career, and Garrett's been very pleased with him as well. I mean, he did some good things last week with his legs. I mean, it's just still the more he plays, the more comfortable he'll get, with all aspects of the position.
Anybody else for Coach?
You mentioned with portal, it's a fit on both sides. Florida State's had a lot of portal hits. I know there's some portal misses. Why do you think they've been able to evaluate those guys well and bring them in from other schools and have them kind of fit in so seamlessly?
Well, I mean, it's no different than any recruiting process. I mean, you got to, they've done a good job of evaluating and then recruiting. I mean, just because you evaluate them and like them don't mean they're going to like you. It's not like you want a nice pair of shoes and you go get them. I mean, the shoes have to want to go on your feet. So it's a two-way street. So I think they've done a nice job recruiting and certainly identifying and filling some needs that they had.